With our lovely new moon, we have some channeled guidance, food for thought from your lovely 5D mystic, enlightenment, functional adult, woo woo, pseudoscience podcast host. And I'm attachment trauma informed for anybody who's new and supporting empowered women, men, and theys for personal development, self help, and our lovely 5D relationships. 5D is Christ consciousness, unconditional love, oneness consciousness, integration of brain. So you like to do thoughts and emotions always, not just sometimes. It's not hard, and if it's hard, you learn how to make it easy. That's exactly why personal development, personality disorders, healable, childhood trauma, healable again. We have plenty of great free content online and good therapists out there. So on that note, we're here to build those relationships and that life that is your optimized, restored embodiment. Your body gets there, your brain gets there, your trauma memory wants to get time stamped on the hippocampus. And so when you're in awareness, that's when you get to deal with certainty and uncertainty. Thank you, Daniel Siegel, for explaining that. And that's because through focused attention and Daniel Siegel's interpersonal neurobiology, I know all about those who can do bilateral integration, and almost anyone can if they want to. No, everyone can. If they are not able to, that's where the good therapists come into the mix and they let us know. Okay, so personality disorders, there's also Dr. Daniel Fox. Plenty of those that have followed his channel for a long time, they're healed from borderline personality. And he also shares on narcissists and he shares on highly sensitive people. So he's quite the empath with compassion and the expert. And again, Patrick Tiahan for childhood trauma survivors. So when you're working with anyone who's caring about you, you're going to know that you're a self that is healable, because yourself, it's authentic, is like mine. It's a inner child. Okay, I didn't lose myself. And that's why I know expansion, not change. So people say, you changed, Maria. No, I feel more of myself because I didn't disrupt the unconditional love that I got to hold in my heart since my first 3 years of life, and then my young 8 years, all of it, pretty good to me. So I'm not whining, I'm not complaining. In fact, I learned how teenagers are like, well, nobody understands. And I would say too, and I was like, wait a minute. I think what we mean is that we don't feel felt. But of course we don't. Our family, they make up all these things about us because, we live together in close quarters. We're always doing things and we care about each other. So we're always just up and in each other's business. My family's a Neapolitan family, so they're always checking in. We don't lock doors. Nope. And you don't get in any way, shape, or form upset at parents, grandparents, any of them for checking in on you, because we all want to keep the safety of this is that thing. It's cultural. So different cultures means you accept different ways, and emotions don't need to play a part in any of this. And that's where you find the empowered people. So we can say, yeah, you know what? I can understand it. Doesn't mean I like it. And then we say, yeah, I know. I'm okay with it. I don't like it. I'm okay. Okay. And there you go. That's grown up conversations. You know what happens when you have people who aren't grown ups inside, so they don't know that we vibe different strings of a guitar and then we come together and we can vibe together because no one has a sensitive ego. So anyone who's their own guitar string is an empowered woman, man, or they, which is who the community is built of. So you take your emotions and your thoughts seriously and you become flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, stable. Thank you again, Daniel Siegel, for those acronyms. And curious, open, accepting, and loving. Okay, that's prefrontal cortex material in talk. Now, the new moon has brought up the awareness. And so if you know of Peter Levine, you know that our muscles, bones, and tissue store trauma, which is why it's not demons when you do yoga. Yoga is a portfolio of ventral vagal nervous system toning exercises and mindfulness or meditation. They put into practice the 3 pillars of the mind. So focused attention, that famous awareness, which is maximum uncertainty. That means you're in awareness going to face uncertainty, all of it, and certainty, which is why if there's trauma, that stuff's going to come up. But your body will keep you safe. Only what can. So it comes up in a little bit of time, basically. That's because the person then gets to kind intention. So what happens? Oh, look, I'm witnessing an emotion come up. Let me think. I'm not going to do shame, blame. I'm not going to do fault. I'm not going to do envy, jealousy, friend. No, none of that. Revenge. And I was thinking of another word, but it slipped my mind. But the point is, let's say some of those come up. If you are a person who has good attachment trauma information, you know who you are. So let's say you have a personality disorder that was diagnosed. Here's my inner critic. And here, Dr. Daniel Fox, he calls it family in the head. Patrick Tiahan, he also calls it, well, he calls it inner child with the family stuff. So you say, okay, hold on. You pause and you work with the emotional stuff. I was just watching a video by Dr. Daniel Fox on how to work with urges, this negative cycle that people with borderline personality, but I'm thinking not only them. And he calls it a negative cycle. And this negative cycle, which involves compulsive, impulsive behaviors, spending, sex, substance abuse, reckless driving, binge eating, okay? And that's not only people with borderline. I've seen plenty of people do the sex, drunk, drugs. They don't do it in front of me because I don't do that stuff. But there's also those who self-harm, fight. They excessively call, text, or email, or drive by people's houses. Okay, so this again, not only with those, I've had people with structural dissociation inform me of their plan to keep going to some person that they insistently wanted to be with them, and she didn't leave it alone. So eventually this was fixed, thank goodness. But when I presented the structural dissociation, they're like, no, I was conscious. So when you don't know yourself in a way of understanding that there's things you can work on. Okay, so when people know who they are, it's because they take themselves seriously, and that's who I'm talking to. So self-help personal development supports those who take themselves seriously. That involves emotions and thoughts. Okay, so some will call it emotional intelligence. Emotional mastery is also what we use. I'm going to say use your name, and you get to become that lovely, emotional, mature person. The ones who are adaptive and maladaptive, they're not so lovely, but they're still going to be lovely to us, but they're not going to be lovely in their mannerisms. They're going to be suffering in their mannerisms. So this is where when people don't want to hear any of this, they say, why are you telling me I'm fucked up? I didn't say anyone's fucked up. That's not the word I used. I was explaining something that can help you understand what just happened so that you may try to not have it happen again. No, it's too hard. Okay, so his tip to break negative cycles, this is where he talked about putting some cold water on a face and or cold ice pack, but not too cold enough to where your system is going to be, for a minute, I think he said shocked, or and he's like, oh, okay, and then you pause. And then you consider, what was I about to do? Why was I going to do it? Okay, I'm not going to do that. So you work with yourself. That's why, whether it is personality disorder, childhood trauma, or simply put, a very important emotional moment, which is why the twin flame thing, there's no sagas for the ones who are 5D mystics. It's because we know how to work with our emotions, okay? And that's because it comes up, and you don't say, I'm a piece of shit, my emotions are a piece of shit. No, none of that. My emotions are laundry. No, your emotions are part of the human experience. And so you are simply going to allow yourself to know that I don't have to act upon urges or desires. I don't have to engage in impulsive behavior, and I want to disengage from it completely and get out of negative cycles. Okay, and so there you go. This new moon, for people who are in the 5D collective, it is always going to be 5D collective, something expansive, because the human love narrative is one of choice from here. You do not do anything in the absence of kind intention, and or at the very least you bring in neutrality. But still, if there's no self-love, that's the part of why it's important to note that people think of the self typically as an individual. You are an individual like I am, but who did I grow up with? Who gave me my name? Who began to give me words? And so myself is not a construct by itself. I'm always a member of a herd. I don't speak these words out always because to me it's common sense. Okay, with that being said, as we conclude our lovely bit of channeled guidance for this new moon, it has brought up sensations, images, affects, meanings, behaviors. It's brought some stuff up to you, and with clarity, you say, wow, is amazing. So the construct of yesterday is not actually who I am. It is what I was built to be. And if you're looking to build healthy relationships, what you're noticing is I can do this as me with people who allow me to be my own cord and who work with me on an emotional mental level. And that means they have me, not the fake one though. We all will smile. Now, see, here's where people will say on social media, you only share the positives. Nobody, I'm a firm believer to share that which is supportive. And seeing a sympathetic nervous system is not supportive. Allowing people to know that there are hard things, yes, but this part about, and that's why we have groups and divides. Because, see, to me, life is automatically going to be hard because I live every day with uncertainty, and my secondary consciousness consistently knows this. So for me, it's not hard because it's a thing that I've dealt with since I was a kid. And I got to get out of being weighed down by it thanks to me. And I need to thank lovely Marcus Aurelius, because he's the one who shared with me the wisdom of why would you worry about something you can't do anything about? He's right. Okay. Now let me leave it alone. I won't have answers to what's after life, and I already know what I believe in, and what I feel is that we continue infinitely and beyond. But that doesn't mean it's true or not true, okay? And here's the other part for my lovely 5D mystics again. The oversoul. It is the most amazing of journeys for a feminine, a true feminine. A true feminine will not look with any eyes except for eyes of acknowledging and being completely in the awareness that everything that will take place has a purpose for expanding consciousness. That doesn't mean you like it or don't. Like my panic attacks, I don't like it, but I don't complain. What I mean by that is I will not say change that. There was a moment in time where like, yes, change it. Today, with the knowledge and wisdom of what I can look to when I see the past, because that's the part of where you, when you look at yourself, you're like, oh, that helped this, okay? And so anytime that I look to my past, I've consistently learned more about how they have served and continue to serve to support me to expand and to be able to be blissful and wise. And here's that enlightenment soul age group. And here's two of the paths to enlightenment. And then I see the ones who have pain and loss. But I know that they're able to move into here if they enlighten. Wow, when you see somebody talking about laundry, you know that they're still in the path of pain and loss. However, we have a human suffering love group. Remember, after that full moon we recently had, a group of them, they're settling into those vibrations. And that vibration is one of shame, blame, fault, revenge, envy, jealousy, spite. They're all maladaptive child behaviors, and their adaptive child behaviors, they make it all about themselves. They have mantles with superheroes, supervillains, and people who need saving. Their emotions are not the flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, stable. They're in a survival mode, safety behavior of attach, cry, collapse, submit, please, appease, fight, flight, freeze, flop, drop. You'll notice who they are because you'll notice their rigidity and or their chaos. You'll notice their structural dissociation. You'll notice their mannerisms of biological rudeness, thank you, Stephen Porges, where they're offline and they're not taking ownership of their mood, of their projection. They're saying humans are fucked up, men are fucked up, women are fucked up, everything fucked up. That's all they have to say. Nobody can be happy all the time. Some can, because we choose to surround ourselves and we choose to disengage from all activities that don't allow us to be in a vibe of fulfillment, of happiness, of joy. We choose to surround ourselves with the guitar strings and the music and all of it. And when some will say, so you are just making your life easy. Well, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. I didn't want it to be hard to begin with. And here's the part about some people, they don't actually have this option. So I think, when I think hard, I think of the people who actually have it hard. And again, I know that for some people, emotions are hard. I know they can get out of those emotions being hard. And I know people who they actually have a hard. So to me, the word hard is not emotional, but I know how to work with emotional mastery, intelligence. It's my emotions. Maria's body, safe haven, secure base. Okay, so that's where you can come and join us. And again, the ones who don't want to smile, they don't have to. Nobody's going to make anybody be in a human love narrative at all. Of course not. But we're building the healthy self worth, secure attachment, safe haven, secure base. We're building a community of the social engagement nervous system, the people who want to be their inner child adults. And so, again, you will have gotten clarity. This new moon has brought an aha moment and more for those of you tuning in here, because it's just I want to share another episode, so I'm going to leave this one. I'm just very happy to see you all here and to know that you have had clarity on something that just made you smile, and you're like, okay, I can totally do this thing called life. Like, this is awesome. And that you have a smile for your relationships, that you know that you don't have to carry on those infant relationships, because that's the part of clarity that we'll talk about in another episode, and more the psych education components. Again, this one's for this new moon, has brought some amazing aha moments for my 5D mystics. And those of you who are, again, following along and resonating, it's really, I'm going to be a secure attachment, open hearted person. I want to build tango. I want to talk. I want to feel. I want. And we can have. And this is because we can bring this to each other when you're working with your thoughts and your emotions and the oversoul. Your oversoul blesses you with the most amazing opportunities to be yourself. Who chooses to be the authentic self? That's who chooses. It's you. Oh, I don't have a teenager. I got a grown up, because my teenager was a verb already. And that's because I didn't lose the relationship with my heart body and value body. I chose to stay open hearted and kind when I met unkindness. I chose because I already had Jesus and God. I do think that personally. If people say, would you have been the same? I don't know. I think so, but I can't know. And it's a hypothetical that doesn't need to be placed here, because it's not one that's ever going to happen. The past already happened. I'm here. So I'm here as a person who can share, one, how upset I am when I see people wanting to use the love that this man brought, and that they think love means I'm going to dictate to you what to do. That's not love. But they had a parent and or parents who did that. They did. That's why they got held that way. I didn't get held that way. I got held in. Okay, let me explain it to you again. And then this is the psychology. It's very important. So your aha moment will have everything to do with this, and you saying, I want relationships that are this. Love is easy. It's not hard. It's only hard for the ones who had a childhood where they were made to feel that they had to work for it. Watch Gabor Mate. Watch Bezel van der Kolk. Go hear about all these people informing. Go to childhood trauma survivor Patrick Tiahan, Healed and Healing. Watch him talk about how he loves to see his kid in a child-centric environment, and how those who don't have one will gawk. Ugh. So whenever somebody gawks at me, and I have seen it, I will point it out to my friends. In fact, this is the part when you point it out, but not because you're offended, because you're like, okay, look, I can, I can totally tell you don't want me around today. Oh, I'm gonna leave. No, yeah, it's okay. You don't have to lie to me. I can tell, like with my face. I'm sure people can always tell. No, not always. That's the part. So what's nice, FYI, no mind reading people. The mind reading people are not the IHP community. The mind reading people are the ones who will think they are right for sure, and then they don't tell you. When we think, we'll say, and then they'll correct us, and we'll leave it alone. So I recently have had the honor to have a beautiful conversation, and as we were interacting, I saw certain faces. And I didn't assume negative or positive, but I am used to, culturally speaking, seeing certain facial expressions and saying that should mean this should mean that. And so I'm like, am I okay? Are you bored? What's going on? No, ignore the face. Okay, I'll ignore the face. And so That's the part in my brain. I didn't keep saying, I think they're lying. I think they're annoyed. I think they don't want to talk about this. A grown person is going to treat another grown human being as a person. The ones who want to think behind your back, they're all teenagers in my book, and they're all assuming, and they're not allowing themselves to be in the infinite plane of possibility and to just enjoy relationships. So that means relationships are dangerous for you, and you have a story, not you, but that's the person who says, no, no, I know that bitch. I know that truth. And what you find out about the inner critic is that, and the outer critic, and anybody who doesn't grow up to be a prefrontal cortex and be in the present, is that they assume their plateaus, their categories, and their, what is the other word that Daniel uses? Categories and, I forget, but he has a way he talks about plateaus and then peaks come up from those plateaus. So in the infinite plane of possibilities, categories and concepts. That's where you can actually dissolve those categories and concepts and open yourself up to the generator of, I think D stands for diversity, which is where you have those of us who want to be flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, and stable. So the 5D collective, we're okay with science and spirituality coming together like this. If somebody says, no, my face doesn't mean I'm bored, we're going to leave it alone. And that's also the enlightenment soul age, by the way. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the face, this is that one equation. Can you prove anything? You can't prove a person's intent and what they're speaking. Why are you going to? Are you what's the deal with making friendship and meeting people? So every person's has a different perspective. When you enjoy meeting people because you enjoy exchanging talk, not to prove anything, you aren't going to say, I want to know if behind the scenes there's something more. You're going to trust that what you're being told is it, and you're going to keep on vibing in those guitar strings, and that's the resonance that we talk about and the trust. So present attuning and resonating and trusting. There's IHP community for those who want to be here, and this lovely new moon has brought to you some beautiful clarity. So tune back in for more and have a great new moon.